Hello and welcome back to my craft room. Well, I have got on really well with my Maggie inspired scroll. In fact, I just couldn't stop, and it's finished. Well, almost finished. I'm just putting the backing on, so I thought I'll do a last little bit of that with you. And then what I'm going to do today is make some spools to wind my scrolls onto. And then the next thing I'm going to be doing in the next video, I'm going to be making a little kind of display unit. I'm mentioning that now because if you'd like to join in and make one along with me, there's a couple of things you need to get hold of. One is a shoebox, an old-fashioned shoebox. Although you could substitute any kind of box. Actually, I think you could. Yeah, the way I'm thinking to do it. I also might use one of my empty stitch kit boxes as well. But you know, any kind of sturdy cardboard box, you could cut it and make it work. But a shoebox is what I'm going to be working with. And the only other things we'll need is it could either be done with paper and paint, or it could be done with fabric and slow stitched. And it's going to be a kind of a bit of a quirky display unit too. With little shelves and little hanging spots to display all of my slow stitch scrolls. If you fancy working along with me and doing that, start looking out for a shoebox now or something similar. I think you can adapt. You'll be able to adapt the project to fit whatever you've got, really. So let's go back to the scroll. I'm going to take you to my desk, and here's how my scroll is looking. Well chuffed with it in the end. I'll give you a bit of a close up of all the stitching in a minute. All I'm doing now is just putting a piece of cotton print on the back. You can see it's all a bit wibbly wobbly. Don't care about that. Somebody asked about seeing the back of Maggie's scrolls, and that's pretty much what Maggie does as well. Again, she's a bit wibbly wobbly too. We don't care. We don't care. Slow stitch scrolls don't have to be perfectly straight. With this one, she's actually brought the backing fabric over to the front to create this little border which sets it off really nicely. But with most of them, she's just done a plain backing. And then with the one that she made me with the Millefiori inspired one, she's actually used a print that's got lots of circles and things, so it fits with the whole Millefiori thing really well. Yeah, if you'll be laughing or screaming at me if you were here for the live on Wednesday, because I had everybody helping me to decide which of these colours I picked these up as a bargain, these pre-loved bias binding rolls, which I got really cheap on eBay. I'm trying to decide which of them I was going to edge it with. I felt like I wanted an edging just because I'd gone a little bit nuts with the lime green and I wanted to tone that down, so I was thinking of a contrast. And I was going to maybe bring this backing fabric over to the front, or use one of these colours, and eventually decided what I was going to do, then changed my mind and decided I didn't want an edging at all, so I've just backed it. But hey ho, never mind. So yeah, if you were one of those people who was here, you're going to be screaming at me now. So yeah, I just quickly tacked an edge in all the way around the actual scroll first, then folded my piece of cotton print to fit, and now I'm going to bring you in a little bit. I'm doing a really simple, sometimes I do a blanket stitch for this kind of thing, but yeah, I'm just doing an overstitch. A couple of people recently have told me I should be using a thimble. Over the years I've had so many people tell me that, and I promise you I have tried all kinds of things. I can't make anything work. The latest thing I tried just now was some of this tape, but I found it wouldn't stay stuck, and it's got this stickiness to it which was annoying me. I can't bed. I'm a bit like, I have some sensory issues. In the end, I just couldn't bear it, and I've created my own inbuilt thimble by building this callus on this finger. You can actually see it. What I find is more of a problem, not so much giving me a sore finger by the needle pricking my finger. It's what I find more difficult with this, because it's quite hard work to get through. It's not just the pushing it through, it's the gripping now. This gripping now and pulling through, that's hard work, and I end up having to keep pushing it, or putting it down on the top and pushing like that. And yes, I suppose with the thimble I could push it through more, but Yeah, I've tried all the different kinds of thimbles, and I just end up holding this the finger that the thimble is on out like this, out the way, and kind of going like this and getting all cack-handed. And I know I could persevere and make myself do it, but I'm the same if I'm working in the garden, which is not something I do very often these days, but you know, or anything where, you know, you might think to wear gloves. I can't bear wearing gloves either. I can't bear the feel of them, and also I like to actually feel what I'm doing. So yeah, so thank you for your concern, and you are absolutely right. If you're one of those people that's been recommending I get used to a thimble, it's not happening. Got my little useful pot. This is a thing I made a while back out of the inside of a roll of tape like this, and after wrapping up all those hearts, I've got that roll now is nearly finished, so I've had to make some more of these. They're so handy, and the thing is they stack up, so I've got different ones for different things. Yeah, they just stack up really nicely, and they're on my desk all the time. They come downstairs with me sometimes when I'm working on a project somewhere back along. I did a video about making them. I think it's nice when you can make use of stuff you would otherwise be chucking in the recycling. You can enjoy a bit of stitching, use up some of your scraps, and make something useful out of them. And talking about things being useful, of course, slow stitch scrolls are one of those things that you'll get comments from people like, it's really lovely, but what are you going to do with it? I'm just going to really enjoy doing it, and I'm going to enjoy looking at it every so often. I mean, you could say the same thing about these beautiful scrolls that Maggie has sent me. I don't need a purpose for these. I just love them. Every so often I take them out, I feel them, I look at them closely, I show them on camera so you can all enjoy them as well. That's what they're for, if they need to be for something. But it's mainly for the joy of doing them, isn't it? And the relaxation that they give you. I mean, you know, you could say the same about a picture you're going to hang on the wall. Well, but what's it for? Well, it's just to look at. Nobody ever asks that about a picture, do they? Someone enjoyed drawing or painting it, and I'm enjoying looking at it and having it hung on my wall. That's all we need to know. Okay, so that is my scroll all done. Shall we have a little closer look at it, end to end? Like I said, I do think, looking at it as a whole, I feel like I went a bit nuts on the lime green because I love lime green. I do feel like it has got a touch of Maggie about it, but it's still me as well. It doesn't look exactly like Maggie's. You can see, I think, you can see the kinship, but I think you can see a different person did it. I mean, those three from Maggie are all done very differently, but they're still very much her. I feel like mine does look different, and I can't quite put my finger on, because I tried to work the way she works and use very similar stitches and what have you, but yeah. But it's one of the things that's been lovely is seeing other people posting in the Facebook group and Discord community, posting their Maggie inspired pieces, and they're all brilliant, and it's lovely to see them, and I know Maggie's enjoying seeing them as well. They're all brilliant, and they've all got that Maggie magic, but they're all very much the style of the person who's doing them as well, which I think is brilliant. I think it's exactly what we want. So let's have a closer look at the stitching. No different stitches to what I did with you in the last video. So we've got pistol stitches here, lazy daisies, chain stitches, just following the pattern and shapes that are in the fabrics that I'd tacked onto my strip. Tried to follow Maggie's maxim of picking a thread that shows up well against the fabric that she's working on and stitching into the pattern that's already there, something I love to do as well. Did a couple more goes at the weaving here, two different ways of doing the weaving. French knots, detached lazy daisies, these little star stitches. It's all very tactile, which I really like, and kind of feels very similar to how Maggie's work feels. Quite enjoyed doing this. This is something I made these little alternating straight stitches, so each in one square they go vertical and the next square they go horizontal. It's just 3 straight stitches in each square, and then in these I did the same thing with these, but I just pulled those 3 stitches together with a little contrasting thread, and I've really liked the look of that. Definitely something I found. I've tried a few things here that I will try again. That little star stitch there, it's just like 2 cross stitches overlapping each other. I did the same thing here, but with this one it was using 2 different colours, 2 different shades of orange to give it a different look. Chain stitch and French knots, small pistol stitches, 3 layers of blanket stitch there. Most of this you've seen me working on. I did go over the leaves again, fill them in with the lighter sort of yellow colour, rather than just to break up that just expanse of green a little bit. Added some more seed stitching in here to darken that down a little bit. I filled in these after I finished filming. Again, it's just lazy daisies, pistol stitches and chain. A bit of satin stitch in there, just following the pattern that was in the fabric. I wasn't, if you remember, if you did see the last video, I wasn't happy with this piece, which was the kind of plaid fabric, so I just went over it a few more times and did some, but that's really quite thick now. Just did some more layers of stitching until I kind of was happy with it. I was going to do this again, and I'm glad I did. I did it differently this time. I just put the thread across, just followed that shape that's in the fabric, and then finished off with a little deep pink kind of double cross in the middle. Lazy daisies. Yeah, lazy daisies, cross stitches, running stitch, French knots, chain, and that's about it. I haven't done anything in the weaving. Haven't done anything complicated at all. It's just, there's just masses of it. You just keep on stitching and stitching and stitching until there's no room left to stitch in. And I'm very happy with it. I love the look of it. I love the feel of it. I love the layering colours. The layering colours aren't for everybody, but if you don't like those layering colours, you can take these same ideas and just use the colours that you like. It's all the different stitches and texture that make it special, I think. But yeah, I love that. I love the bright colours, and so does Maggie. So that is my scroll done. So the next thing is, what do we roll them on? So I've seen a couple, somebody in the Facebook group, I can't remember who it was now, they shared a link in the Facebook group to somebody who was making the spools to go in the middle. Because of course, you know, you can get the lovely wooden spools, they do make them. If you're lucky, you can come across some vintage ones. But it's quite nice to make your own as well, and that's what I'm going to do in the rest of this video. I'm just going to quickly show you this, just a quick look at this video that somebody recommended in the Facebook group. Hang on. So you can see here, this is Night Owl Crafts and Collectibles, and she's just done this with paper, distressed it and everything, and it looks brilliant, looks absolutely amazing. I think that's lovely, and definitely something I will be trying. And so I'll put a link to this in the description box, because that looks like well worth a watch. So there's a few different ideas. What I'm going to use to make my own are these empty tubes. So these are 2 sizes. That one's actually already got stripy paper on because it had been used to make something else at one point, which has fallen apart, so I kept them. So I'm going to use that. This is the shorter kind, but they're both till roll middles. So if you know someone who works in a shop, chances are they throw loads of these away and they could grab some for you, which is what I did when I was working in a shop a couple of years ago. This is an empty thread spool, just a normal, it's just made of card. It's pretty sturdy card. So I'm going to be using them in a minute. But I've got some other ideas as well. If you're lucky enough to come across some of these wooden old cotton reels, they're brilliant. In fact, the plastic ones would work as well. You could always put something pretty on the end to cover it up, put some decorative paper on the end, and they would look perfectly nice. So most of the time you don't see the middle of the scrolls actually anyway. This wouldn't work for my size. I mean, that's the smallest scroll I've got, and obviously it's not small enough to go on there, but you definitely could make scrolls to fit this. I saw that K3M was doing some lovely meditative slow stitch scrolls, and they definitely would have fitted on there. So yeah, I might do some of those. They can help to fill up my lovely unit I'm going to make next time. There's also some other, now someone else on Facebook, and I've forgotten who it was who said this, head like a sieve these days, but she suggested that dolly pegs are a good thing to use for spools for these, and they work beautifully for this, because you can put the you can use the slot in the peg to hold. This is a bit thick at that end actually. There we go, I'll do it that way. The end of the spool of the scroll, and then just twizzle it around. And of course there's absolutely no reason why you can't paint a little face, put some hair on it. You know, I might do that. I think paint pens would work beautifully on there. I might do that, but that'll be another video. But yeah, that is a lovely idea. I'm going to get some sari ribbon or something and tie around these scrolls. But let me just put something on there. Just put a pin in it just to hold that. So if I put it on that peg like that, it would just stand as well, you know, and that would look quite cute, especially with little faces. That would look quite cute, just standing on a shelf. Really lovely. So there's that. There's also things like this. I got a whole load of these that I had from Tom, because he was just using the knives and forks, these little wooden knives and forks, but he wasn't using the spoons, because he said when they got hot they just went flat. Well, it's not much good as a spoon, completely flat, is it? Can't eat soup with it, that's for sure. So definitely those would work. I think that would be quite cute. They actually just stand up. Or you could, what I might do is make some little slots at some point in my little display unit I'm going to make, and the spoon could just be tucked into the slot in the top to hold these up. A lot of people hang them vertically, and they look stunning on a wall hung, especially if you've got a little group of them. They look absolutely amazing. I don't have any hanging space, so I can't do that. But if you do want to hang them, one idea for hanging them is also something I happen to have. I got 2 packs of these, one in each colour, in the pound shop, really cheap, £1, funny enough. And they're just simple wooden clothes pegs with this fabric stuck on the front. Now this is coming off, I've had these a long time, but what I thought I might do is cover them with some fabric or paper to match my display unit, because I think that would be really nice to be able to peg a couple of the scrolls on the front so that they can hang down. I think that could look really interesting. But yeah, you could definitely peg them onto, you know, run a length of cord across the front of a shelf. There's not a lot of weight in these scrolls really, and then you could just peg this on like a washing line, but peg the scrolls on and let them hang down in front of your shelves. I think that could be a really nice way to display them as well. I've also got here these little pencils. Now I had these, this was a cheap pack of pencils, and I think I was doing these for a craft fair or something years ago. And all I did, they were plain wooden pencils, which I just wrapped decorative paper around to make them pretty. I think I was going to do them as little giveaways in with the bags for when people bought things at a craft fair. I think that was the idea. So they look quite cute. You know, you could use all kinds of scrap papers. Book paper would look really pretty. And there's no reason why you couldn't roll a scroll onto one of them. So, you know, it's just nice to have something to wind them onto. It just looks quite cute. And again, if I pinned that so it wouldn't come unravelled, or if I tied a bit of ribbon or something around it, that would just stand there and those would stick out. I think that looks really nice. You can of course just roll them up, and this is what Maggie had done with hers. Now I've lost the little tie for this. Where's the little tie gone? It had a special button on it with Maggie's name. I've buried it in my workings here. I think I must have put it in with the project stuff that's gone downstairs. But yeah, Maggie had this special little ribbon with a button on, with a handmade by Maggie, and she just tied it together like that. So you don't have to have anything in the centre at all, but traditionally you kind of have the spools in the middle, and they look quite cute. So anyway, that is what I'm going to be making today. So I've got my empty tubes. I'm probably going to do some hot gluing. If I don't do hot glue, then I will be using... I'm so tidy, I've tidied everything away. Where's my Beacon 3-in-1 glue? That's what I'm looking for, and it's always here right in front of me. And it's one of the things that I kept on my desk right in front of me, but now it's disappeared. But yeah, I've got some Beacon 3-in-1 glue which sticks pretty much anything to anything, and that's what I'll probably use if I don't go the hot glue route. Okay, so the other thing I've got, as well as the empty spools, is some a scrap piece of thin wadding. That's not absolutely essential. Some of the lovely batik prints that were in the little bundle that Maggie gave me. Could use any fabric at all, really good work for this. I've got a few different trims that I might or might not use. I'm going for the whole brightly coloured kind of boho vibe here. So a lot of these came out of either packs that people sent me or the Bazaar scrap packs. I think any of these would look nice with. So I might use those trims, but I might not. Definitely they could be covered with scrap paper instead of fabric. You know, if you've got scrapbooking paper and that kind of thing, or any decorative papers, gift wrap even, you know. I think if it was something really thin paper, I'd just wind it round a couple of times to give it a bit more substance. And then the other thing is buttons and or beads. So I've got a whole selection here that I've grabbed. Some smaller ones because they will help to anchor the big ones on. I'm going to need my longish needle. I might even need to get a longer one than that. Yeah, and I've got a mixture of buttons and beads and a couple of flowers actually. Flowers I thought might work out, might be quite cute as well. I'm going to need my needle and threads, my glue when I can find it. So I'm ready to start. I'm going to get myself a little bit sorted and I will be back in a moment. Well, I'm really annoyed. I've had to order some more glue because I cannot find that. I can only think I've somehow accidentally managed to throw it away. And neither can I find the lead to plug in my hot glue gun. So I'm completely stymied. So what I've had to do is do it completely by stitching. So obviously that is possible, but I really would have preferred to have a little bit of glue to help me along. I was going to use this little bit of trim as well, which I could stitch on, but it just would have been a really quick job just to glue it on with that glue. Now I tried this glue, which I paid quite a lot of money for, and I tried this one. And I couldn't get either of them to work, even just to stick this bit of trim on. So yeah, a bit frustrated because I think that would look nice, but I'm going to wait until the glue comes tomorrow and then I'll finish it off. So obviously there's different ways I could have done this. So if I take one of these tubes, I'll match the beads or buttons that I use to whatever fabric is on the body of the spool. So with this one I've done the bead at one end and a flat button at the other, so like that, so that it will stand. Obviously you need to find a wide enough button for it to stand. I think it would also look quite nice to use this stripy one and have that as the top, and perhaps the pink one there as the bottom. I think that could look quite nice, and with a hot glue gun that would take me like 10 seconds to do. So I'm going to have to find that lead, because it's a nice Dremel glue gun and I can't understand where the lead has gone at the moment. But anyway, yeah, so I could do that. I quite liked the look of this one with this fabric as well, so I could have done that in the top instead. But I could also just use a bead at both ends, or the same thing at both ends, like this one with perhaps with this blue batik fabric. Would look really cute with these beads, you know, one either end. I love the ones like this. I think that could have looked really nice on here as well. It's a really nice way to use vintage buttons. So it could be like a flat button like this that it could stand on, or you could stack the buttons up. So let's find a couple that stack up nicely. So my old favourite, pink and green. You know, you could stack them together like that and use them as the ends, or make two identical stacks. Stack a button up with a bead. Yeah, I might put those together because I always like blue and green. With this one, where I was doing it all with the thread, where I've got no glue at all, what I've done is stitch all the way through, right through. I'll show you that in a minute. And then I've just used this little bead, this needs to be a smaller bead, to stop everything from pulling back through. I'll show you how that works in a minute. So there's all sorts of combinations. I threw in some of these as I love these ones. And I've got a little cross-shaped one here somewhere. Here it is. And you know, there's no reason why you couldn't have some kind of dangling off the end of a spool as well. There's just so many different ways you could do it. I love that one. I might put that one together with that, or matching it to these. So say I was using this fabric, that would go. And I could use one of these buttons at either end. It's a lovely way to use vintage buttons, shank buttons, or the normal flat buttons. I can't stitch on the shank buttons because I need to be able to go all the way through. So I can't use these shank buttons until my glue comes, or I find that lead for the blinking hot glue gun. So this is what I get for tidying up, innit? I've got these which were fragranced. There are no holes in them, they're not beads, they're fragrant. They were fragrant wooden balls, but the fragrance is all gone. So they could just be glued on. The whole thing could be painted, covered in, you could get Mod Podge out and cover it with tissue and book paper and things. That could look really amazing. So say they were covered in, some kind of coordinating fabric, or it was covered in book paper, and they just glue those on either end. Ever so quick. If I had the glue here, I could show you how quick this is. I'm so frustrated. I keep looking, thinking I'm missing it. I've popped it up somewhere when I was using it, and it's just staring me in the face, but I cannot find it. And I can't believe that these wouldn't work even for sticking fabric to fabric. Really hacked off because I paid a lot of money for them, and I've heard people say good things about them, so I don't understand. So let's do what I can do. The reason that I'm going to do them this way, where I've got a flat one on the bottom and a rounded one on the top, is that they will stand up like that. So if I take this one for example, I wrap it onto my spool like that. This is moving about because I haven't got any glue, but it is pretty solidly attached because I've gone back and forth with the perlé thread. So I would either then tie my ribbon around it, or take a decorative pin to hold it closed, and then it will just stand like that, and that's going to look so cute standing on a little shelf like that, isn't it? How adorable. So I'm going to make mine like this, but as I say, if you'd rather make them flat buttons either end or beads either end, totally up to you. Or you could just cover the tube, not put anything on either end, just leave it open, and then another thing I could add into my display unit that I'm going to make is a dowel, or just use a knitting needle. I think that could look quite cute actually, pushed right through, so that these could then thread onto it. Tom would say that's like a fancy toilet roll holder. I know he would. And display them that way. So yeah, so the main thing really is to cover this either with paper like that, book paper or decorative paper, whatever you've got, or fabric. I like the idea of doing it with fabric, and since I've got no glue that's doing the job at the moment, stitching them seems like a really good idea. Let's do a smaller one this time. I should make one that would fit this okay, yeah. And I'm just going to cut a little piece of this, just big enough to roll around. It doesn't need to be doubled up or anything. Now with the last one, tube I was using was cardboard. I was able to use this to stick it on, at least long enough for me to stitch the decorative fabric on. But because my tube in this case is plastic, I don't think that's going to work somehow. So I'm going to try this now. This is going to stink. Oh, why did I sniff it? This is supposed to work on wood and plastic as well as fabric. Oh. Trouble is, if it's on plastic you should do a thin layer and let it get tacky. If it's on porous surfaces you just apply it and stick straight away. And look, this is what you don't do. Yeah, I've got a feeling this isn't going to work either, because I'm applying one porous material to a non-porous material. But let's see if it will. And I could definitely do it just by stitching it on and not involving glue at all. I just seem to have done the job at least long enough to allow me to tack it into place if need be. It's not like this copy deck isn't like a spirit basing. It's not that kind of stink. It's just going to trim the excess there a little bit. For non-porous surfaces such as plastics, metal, cork, fabrics and carpets. Alright, paper card and wood, you press it together firmly straight away. For non-porous fabrics, for non-porous materials and fabrics and carpets, right, apply sparingly, well that was a joke, and evenly to each surface. Allow adhesive to become touch dry 15 to 20 minutes, then bring together firmly. Well, what I might do then is apply it to these and leave it to dry while we do this other one. I'll be able to use this little bits that I wiped off earlier, save wasting them. So I'm putting that much on. I've lost my go-tos, my hot glue gun and my Beacon 3-in-1, both at the same time. Yeah, that should do it. Right, I'll leave that to dry while I fiddle about with this. Still keep looking for that glue, it's got to be here somewhere. And it was a nearly full one as well. That's a bit of an outlay when you buy that. It's lovely stuff, but it's quite a nice opportunity to use these. One of these at one end, and that could look quite nice, those together, couldn't it? Let's do that. Let's not overthink it. So many possibilities. Let's go with this one. So the next thing is to just cut a little piece of fabric, which will fit when you roll it round. And I want to leave enough to tuck the ends in, so I will roll it like that so I can cut it there. There we go. Okay, so now I'm not going to worry about glue now. I'm just going to wrap this round fairly tightly like that. Let's just stick a pin in it for a minute. And then these ends will get tucked inside with glue. I'm going to try this for the inside this time. And there's sometimes when glues don't work, it's just because you're using them wrong. So, but I've read the instructions. Tuck all of those ends in. I might have left that a bit longer than I needed to, but that's okay. It's better too long than the other way around. Yeah, I tucked too much in on that end and I've not left so much for this end, but don't matter, it'll be enough. And I think all of the stitching the ends on will keep, you know, the button and the bead on will keep the these ends tucked in anyway, so this is just really just a temporary hold. Keep getting the glue off my fingers because I don't want it on the, I don't want to leave blobs of glue on the bits that are going to show. It's a bit of a narrower tube this one, so it's a little bit more fiddly, but perfectly doable. I should be able to take that pin out now. So now I've got this little wrapped up little tube, and now I'm going to add some stitching, partly to help to keep it all together, but also just because I like the look of it. But you don't have to do that. And also I've just left that torn edge, and I know a lot of people don't like torn edges, in which case you could easily tuck that under and neaten it up. I'm not going to. I'd use that variegated pink I love so much. That could help to bring it all together. Should I go for that? Yeah, let's go for that. I'm just looking at this before I get stuck into that. Let's just see how these are doing. So they've actually, that feels dry and slightly tacky. Just thinking it might be a good time to stick these on. That's dried up as well. Okay, should be able to just press them together now. I think it'll work long enough for me to show you what I mean, but I think tomorrow I'll be taking it off and hopefully finding my hot glue gun. Let's see, just for the sake of being able to show you what I mean. That's not bad actually. That's a pretty good hold so far. So again, I can wind my there we go. How cute would that look? And that should stand up. Ta-da! I'm very happy with those, and I think once I've made my little shelf unit to stand them on, I think those are going to look adorable there. I defy anyone to ask me what they're for. Okay, so let's just tie a little knot in the end. and I'm going to lose that knot inside this a layer of fabric, so I'll need to cut it off a little bit closer. I'm not going to worry about it too much, don't care that much if the knot shows, but you know. And now I'm going to start, I'm not going to go in that direction, I'm going to go in this direction because I think that will help to make sure this opening stays closed. And I'm just going to take small straight running stitches all the way around, kind of spiral fashion really. Quite small just because I like, quite small and neat just because I like the look of it, but they're not actually really holding anything together particularly, they're just, and now instead of like meeting around to there, I'm just going to kind of helter-skelter my way down, if that makes sense. Then I'm going to take my longer needle, I'll use the longest one I've got just to make it easier. That one would probably just about do it actually, but this long one might make it easier. And then I'll be stitching the button on one end and the bead on the other at the same time, stitching back and forth all the way through. So I'll come back and once I've done this, I'll come back and show you how I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to make a couple more samples to finish up with, but you can see that, you know, there's endless possibilities for this, and definitely if you don't feel like sewing them, it would be a really nice way to use up some collage papers, jelly prints and things. It all look really nice on this, on these. And you know, you can make little art scrolls, not just stitch scrolls as well, and they would look really nice on some kind of decoupaged, hand painted little spools and a shoebox display unit. I promise it won't look like a shoebox by the time we're finished. Okay, I'm going to keep going here and I'll be back in a sec when this is done. Right, I've finished stitching all around there. I've got my bead, my larger bead, my little small kind of stop bead, and one button I'm going to put on the bottom. The button will go kind of upside down so that that side shows. Doesn't matter hugely, but hey. So I've got my longest needle and I've got quite a long length of thread. It's probably about 1 metre long, which might tend to I'll have to be careful it doesn't tangle, you know. So I'm going to go in one end of the bead, put it almost through, but I'm leaving quite a bit there, quite a long tail there. And then I'm going through the little stop bead. And this be quite a small one, so that when it turns over, it's just, it doesn't really show like too much. It needs to not be a huge bead, but it needs to be big enough to not go back through the hole. So now what I can do is take my needle back through there, still keeping hold of this end. So now that's kind of going to anchor the thread, if that makes sense. So now I'm going to take my, don't need that much of a tail, take that little tail that I left, and I'm going to tie a knot there. Twizzle it around a couple of times, do a couple of surgeon's knots. So just like tying a normal knot, but twisting it around twice instead of once. That should hold it. Now that can't pull through anywhere. So now I can take it through the tube out the other end. I'm gonna go in the wrong side of the button, the back of the button, through one of the holes, back up through the other hole, and back up through the tube again. I'm doing all this pretty carefully and slowly so I don't get it tangled. And now I'm not pulling it all too tight yet. I'm going to go back up through that bead again. So I'll show you this. So I've come up through the big bead and I'm going to go back through the small bead again this way. So the small bead is kind of on its side now. But now I'm going to start putting it tight as I go now. And you can see this is moving about. It's going to move about on the button quite a lot. But it doesn't matter, it will be secure. So yeah, I've come out the other side of the small bead and now I can go back down through the big bead, through the tube and out through one of the holes in the button. And if it's a button that's got 4 holes in it, obviously you need to make sure you go out of a different one this time so you can make your cross. That's that. Now I'm going to go back and do that another couple of times if I can to make sure it's really nice and secure, but this thread's pretty strong. Up through the tube, up through the middle of the bead. Right through the small bead, the stop bead. Back down through again. Need to pull that away a little bit to see where the hole is. Oh, go through. It's pretty firm now. So I'm going to go up one more time. To feel my way to the hole in the middle of the bead. There we go. Might need to have a little pair of pliers to grab hold of the needle if it's awkward. Back through the small bead, and now this time I'm just going to go through the big bead but not right down through the tube. So I'm going to go through that bead and I'm just going to bring my thread out of the side there. And then I can just take a couple of stitches into the fabric of the tube there just to anchor it, or I could just do a little dab of glue or something, just whatever it takes to feel like you've secured it. I'll bring that out there actually. There we go. Pull that nice and tight. It's been back and forth quite a few times now. Let's just for good measure run it round this a couple of times. And if I had my glue here, I could now add a trim to the top here just to make it, if I glued a little trim around the top just to make it a little bit extra secure, because all of this thread end would be trapped in underneath that trim with the glue. So this moves around. It seems a bit odd because it's moving, but it's actually pretty secure there. This would be nice on there, wouldn't it? A little bit of pink pom-pom. Oh look, yeah, that's what I'll do when I get my When I get my glue, I'll probably do a little bit of that, or maybe put it around the bottom. Good way to use those tiny scraps, because to get all the way around the tube you only need a piece about that long, so you can use the tiniest scraps. And you could even put a piece of ribbon there and tie it in a bow, finish it with a bow at the top. You could put little pieces of lace. Imagine how pretty these would look if you did them in like plain colour, natural colour linen or denim or something, and trimmed it with old vintage lace. That'd be so pretty. I'm going for a fairly leery look to go with my leery colour scrolls. But yeah, you could definitely make them more subtle if you wanted to. So that one's different again. Let's put a different one on here. Let's try this one. How cute! How cute is that? They all just stand there. Oh, I'm well chuffed with them. Okay, I'm going to make one more sample up. That seems to be pretty firmly stuck now, that Copydex one that I wasn't too sure of, so maybe that'll be okay. Right, I'm going to make one more, just with a sort of slightly different look, same technique, and I'll come back and show you in a moment. There you go, I've done another one. I'm going to have to stop now because I've got to go and get dinner ready, so that's it for now, but I'm going to carry on making some more of these because I'm sure I'm going to be making more scrolls because I love making scrolls, and want to fill up the little unit that I'm going to make. I want to fill it up with the spools all ready and waiting for more scrolls. Okay, I will probably tie cords or ribbons around some of these as well, rather than have to keep pinning them like that. But yeah, very happy. They all stand nicely and they look really cute. And I think I might have to take a picture of them all standing so that you can see properly, because it's going to be difficult to put some of these prints behind. That'd be better from a thumbnail. Very happy with those. I think they're going to look well cute. I love the fact that they stand up like little funky soldiers. So I'm really looking forward now to making the little unit for them to all stand in. So don't forget, if you want to make that along with me, start looking for a suitable box now. If you can find an old-fashioned shoe box like this, I think that's going to be ideal. But as I say, you can adapt it. I'll end up having to take it apart to reconstruct it anyway, so you'll be able to make any kind of card work. I just think that would be a good starting point. That's what I'm going to be going with anyway. So I will be back with that soon. Hopefully next week I'll have that ready. I hope you enjoyed that little project with me today. If you have a go at something, please do share pictures. I just think there are so many different variations on this. I think every single person will make a different style, and you know, it's such a lovely way to use up all kinds of bits and bobs, buttons and beads that I've got hoarded away. I could make thousands of these. Anyway, that's quite enough from me for today. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye.